The Larry Elder produced, Justin Malone directed documentary Uncle Tom was critically acclaimed. What differences and similarities should we expect in Uncle Tom 2?
My aim in going into Uncle Tom Part 2 was to really explore the concept of Blackness and Black culture. What comes into people's minds when they think of Black culture, and what has shaped what comes into their minds when they think of Black culture. It's my theory, and my theory actually checked out, that what people think of when they think of Black culture is manufactured by white progressives and white Marxists. More specifically speaking, in many cases, white Jewish Marxists. Uh, and that dates as far back as the so-called Harlem Renaissance, where you had a lot of these
Yes.
Black artists who were uh, vying to get a gig or to score a deal in terms of a record deal or what have you. And they were willing to acquiesce and play the part of what white progressive elites thought of Black culture as being. And they were able to kind of play that part, play that role. And so if you think about it, a lot of white people in America who, after all, white people are the majority race in America, who have never had any contact with an actual Black person, are suddenly seeing so-called Black culture through the medium of a record or
Right.
the silver screen or what have you. And so their ideas of what Blackness is being shaped by shows like Amos and Andy, which was a popular radio show in the early 1900s, where you had these two white men who did this kind of caricature of
Yes.
Black people and of Black culture, and it was wildly popular. There were a lot of Black people who did not like the fact that they were being caricatured in that way, and they would often write letters to Amos and Andy and to the publications that were showing their cartoons, so on and so forth, saying, hey, this isn't representative of us. In fact, it's setting us back. And they were being slapped down, those who were complaining about it, not only by the white liberals, but also by groups like the NAACP, who said, oh, don't worry about it. It's just, it's all in good fun. And so it's interesting when you see groups like the NAACP actually backing these kind of caricatures that have for a long time shaped what people think of Black culture. And so as you get into the 1960s, with the civil rights movement, and then you get into the 1970s with Black exploitation, you have once
Yes.
again this shaping of Black culture that's a complete all-out lie. As you get into the 90s, you have the emergence of gangster rap, which celebrates degeneracy, decadence, debauchery, violence, just feudal living. And as you get into the early 2000s and into where we are now with the mumble rap culture, a culture that celebrates popping pills and doing drugs and objectifying women, this has become what Black culture is, and it's a far cry from our great grandfathers and great grandmothers. Now, I'll cap off what I'm saying by saying this: if you look at the average young Black man between the ages of 20 and 30 today, you'll notice something strange. That is that the way they dress and carry themselves, their demeanor, their outlook on life is not much different than that of a middle schooler. The reason for that is this kind of arrested development, the resistance of growing up, or the reluctancy to grow up, to take responsibility, to be a man, to take life seriously. If you rewind back to the 1940s and you look at young Black men in that same age range between 20 and 30, you'll see this kind of dignity, this kind of integrity, this kind of just pride in self. And so, what has happened between the 1940s and today? It was again my desire to go into these films, exploring these concepts and breaking down and dissecting what exactly has happened, what exactly has transpired. Now, we didn't really get all the way into that in this film, but I hope to do so in the next film, because I think it's an important conversation to have, because I believe that the most important thing about you is what you think about God, first and foremost. That's the
Yes.
most important thing about you. But the second most important thing about you is the stories you tell yourself. and how you identify. If you identify
Mhm.
as someone who's oppressed, if you identify as somebody who comes from a lineage of being downtrodden, of never having made it or never having accomplished anything, then you will be determined to not accomplish anything yourself. You will determine to believe that you are barbaric and in need of socialist programs, so on and so forth. And so these are very important concepts to tackle, because what it does is it gives specifically young Black people, it allows them to wake up and see that they are being targeted and propagandized for a political cause where they will not benefit in the end.